Who are zeroing in on the Akosombo Dam spillage, and its effect has been wreaking in the last couple of days. You already know from last week, per the reports, that the Volta Regional Authority has had to spill the Akosombo Dam, and with it has come a lot of devastation in communities in the north, south, and central Tong districts of the Volta region and parts of the eastern region as well. This has led to a lot of focus and attention. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, has been visiting the affected residents, especially in Sogakope and Sokboi, to assess the impact of the spillage. Here's what he said when he visited the affected areas.
From what we hear from the VRA engineer, he says they've reached the peak of the spillage. So it means that it won't get worse. But it will take time to get better because it will take time for the water to recede and the place to become dry again. We've had unusually heavy rainfall in the northern part of the country. I was in the north last week, and I noticed that the white water had reached its upper limit. And so all that water is coming down to Akosombo. And so the people really need assistance. Unfortunately, my understanding is that NADMO has nothing. Happily, we've heard that VRA said they are going to support with some relief. And so I thank VRA and appeal to them that the people are in need. And so whatever relief they want to give, they should expedite that relief so that they can assist people to be able to cope with the current situation. But I think that this visit will let the government and the whole of Ghana see what exactly is happening here. It's not just a story that is being told by people. It is the reality of people's lives following the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. The main problem is from above the dam. It's receiving more inflows than it should normally receive. And when that happens, you have to protect the dam, because if you don't spill, then it's possible that the dam can give way. And if it gives way, it will be more catastrophic all the way down the southern Volta. And so this is not the first time Akosombo VRA is spilling at Akosombo, but this seems to be a bit heavier than normal. And so I do think it's fine. But it's also good to dredge, because if you dredge, the extra volumes of water are able to move faster. For instance, you can see under the bridge, several parts are silted. If all that part had been cleared, it will be easier for the water to flow through so that it doesn't back up into people's houses. It happens once in a while. It doesn't happen every year. It's just because of climate change, because normally the rainfall in the north would have started subsiding. But unfortunately, even when I was in the north last week, it was raining very heavily. And so it's unusual weather. It's part of what is happening with the whole change of the climate. And so we just have to see how to adapt. Sometimes when you read it in the media, you think it's just a joke. But these are people's lives. I mean, imagine 300 dead bodies. All families called to come and evacuate their bodies, look for other mortuaries to take the bodies to. I mean, that's real. Imagine the Comboni Hospital, which serves the whole of that area, shutting down. They've evacuated the patients. It's left with only 10 patients, and if it doesn't get better by tomorrow, next tomorrow, they might have to discharge those patients too. Some of them are in critical care. How are you going to move them? So what is happening is real. And I expect that, government should take it a bit more seriously.
So that's former President John Dramani Mahama speaking there when he went to visit the affected communities. Well, the Volta Regional Authority has also been speaking. According to Deputy Chief Executive in charge of services, Kenneth Arthur, he says a decision will be made after an assessment to see what can be done to avert any potential spillage which may further cause destruction to already hit communities. Says they've done some work in providing some relief items to the over 15,000 persons who have been displaced.
We had to contain the situation. Right now, we have full reservoir, supply level, and therefore, whatever is coming in, we must also make sure that we don't overtop the dam. That is why we had phase 2 of spill. Well, I'm not too sure. This is a natural resource. We don't have control of water coming from the original sources, but we hope that we should be able to maintain this situation. In fact, even, let's say, we're looking up to approximately about a week, and then we can assess the situation going forward. But it's not every time that we get, these high floods. The last time was in 2010, and before 2010, it was 1991. So obviously, when dry situations persist, people tend to move closer what can we do about this? We continue to educate them. However, in situations like this, it's not about blame game. We have just moved in to make sure that we save lives, we safeguard lives as it is. Right now, I think we must focus on the relief items, to those who have been displaced. And then when we cross that bridge, we'll look at it. This effort should, tell you that we are showing goodwill. So definitely, when we finish all this, we want to make sure that we have zero incident. We don't lose any life in this emergency situation. And after that, we'll be able to see how we can see it.
So that's Mr. Kenneth Arthur with the Volta Regional Authority Deputy Chief Executive in charge of services. However, yes, the VRA may be speaking about what they're trying to do to avert the situation and further manage the problem. But there's also the bit about health, the health implications of this spillage that we're seeing. The Volta Regional Environmental Health Officer, Stella Kumejuro, has been speaking about the likely outbreak of diseases in the affected areas.
We saw some of the toilets submerged under the water. So it means all the contents in those toilets are mixed up with the flood water. And at the end of the day, most of the people I saw still use those surface water for cooking, for bathing, and for other household chores. So the implication to public health is it will trigger water-related diseases, skin rashes, diarrhea, typhoid, and what have you. And so it is a very terrible situation at hand. I want to appeal.
Well, the district director for health at North-Tong, Michael Kofiziga, has also been speaking about what this spillage and its attendant problems bring health-wise that we should be worried about.
I don't think that we envisaged that the displacement was going to be this much. So as a result, definitely once we are overwhelmed, we are going to need support. We are mobilizing all kinds of logistics. Specifically for health. For health, we are looking at both medicine and non-medicine consumables. So we've identified the gaps. We are putting our list together. We are costing it. We are reaching out to stakeholders from within and from without as well to ensure that we get everything that we need. Our staff who have been displaced as well need support. Some of them, their entire house up to the roof level is full of water. They've lost some items. They need support. For our staff who are running mobile clinics as well, they would also need support in that regard. And most of the services that we render are to these people who are currently very vulnerable. Most of them have lost their insurance cards, so when they come to seek health care, they cannot depend on NHIS, so we have to give them medications for free. So all these would amount to some cost to the health service.
That's the District Director of Health at North-Tong, Michael Kofi-Zigada, speaking to Star News. Let's speak now to the Member of Parliament for South Tong, Kwabla Mensah Woyome. Good morning to you, Honourable. Thank you for joining us here on Morning Star.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning to your listeners.
And before I ask about anything else, how has the spillage and the flooding affected your constituency in South Tong?
Thank you, Alan. This is one spillage which I thought is supposed to be a routine exercise and normally undertaken by the VRA. That its effect this time around is so devastating. The magnitude of it I have never seen since I was born, and it's terrible. In South Tong, we can talk about not less than, say, 11 communities currently submerged. And even part of Sugakope currently, as I speak to you, we did the rounds 2 days ago and yesterday. It's getting submerged. That is the areas around Agopo and Agopeni. And so I would say, and the resort and the hotel are not fed. In fact, I pray that those huge investments, again, those ones too, have much of their facilities also submerging. And so it's a big problem as I speak to you now. Now, thank God we haven't recorded any deaths. I mean, we are managing and have gone ahead to tell other people to abandon their homes, and they are heading to it. But in terms of properties, houses that are breaking down, and especially the switch houses, the mud houses, and it's a problem. And then also potable water to the community, because currently the Ghana Water Company is no longer treating water, because when we visited, they said the stability is too high, and if they have to go ahead, means they have to use a lot more chemicals. And in addition to that, they are having problem with power, because one of the power stations managed by Gridco also has been submerged. That supplies power to virtually the entire farming Volta, the section of Aflau and its enclave. So what they've had to do is to shut that down and reroute the power through Aflau to Southtown. And then, of course, because of the distance and then the resistance, the power transmission encounters, it just was at very low. Right now, no people are recording close to 110 voltage and thereabouts. So that is just not suitable power reactions. And so yesterday I even suggested to the VRA that, I mean, they should be able to channel their resources properly by one, going to sit down with Ghana Water, support them to buy the chemical, and then put a standby generator, which they can send there at least a three-phase generator, as well as, and I'm sure we'll be able to get at least the taps running, because the flood water is taking along so many things, because septic tanks have been flooded, and several things. I mean, so you can't vouch for people depending on that. And even if people have to, we have educated them that they've got to boil the water and do the sieving. And so it's quite mega and big. The Komboni Hospital, as I said to you, is shutting down. And that hospital takes care of several people in the enclave beyond the district. I mean, we have people from Dangbe East, people from even Aflau, and sometimes even across the borders from Lomé or attending to that facility. And so now that is shut down, more or less, and so the nurses, we have to evacuate some to my residence, and providing other means of for them to live. I mean, water and abode and all that. So we currently are in dire need of relief items. And though this is started about a week, we are now beginning to see a kind of support sort of coming from the VRA. For not more totally absent, and no visit from any high-ranking officer from the government, except the regional minister who did a tour at the area. I think I must use this opportunity to His Excellency, the former President, JDM, John Dramani Mahama, for raising the awareness and created that awareness. I'm sure people were sleeping. And so now that's really getting people to now wake up to hear from their slumber. So I understand some people want to visit today. Let's see what happens and what they are bringing along.
When you say some people, do you mean the president?
Oh, I'm aware. I hear some government officials. So I don't know about the president coming. That will be fine. That will be really, that will be wonderful. That will be really wonderful.
We're told that for that team that's coming, it will be the president and the inter-ministerial committee that's being headed by the chief of staff, and some other officials of state as well will be coming.
Although long, I mean, it's fine. It's better late than not at all. So it's good that they should come and experience what people are going through. And then, before coming with the relief items, we need it. We need it. People are suffering. And, the mosquitoes, I mean, it's a complex problem that we are going through here. So I think it will come.
Okay. In your locality specific, how many persons have been displaced as a result of this spillage?
I'll be able to give you a figure fully by close because it's still ongoing. People are getting displaced every day because the spillage is still ongoing.
Okay, but at the last check, what number did you have?
I think, well, according to the NADMO so far, we're running into almost a little below 200 because families have been taken away below. Yeah. So we're still accounting because the figures are not yet, according to him, there are places hard to reach areas. And so we are getting some already displaced people who are already out of their communities, trying to reach them to know the numbers also as well. So the numbers are huge and still counting.
Okay. All right. So for these 200 who have been displaced and still counting, you say that there is a need for a lot of relief items now. What exactly do you need?
You see, what we need is, I think, some food, because those businesses have been totally wiped away, and food to sustain, water, clothing, maybe medicine, and get the facilities to stop charging these people when they attend those facilities for any care. And so these are some of the decisions and policies I think must be put in place immediately. And then we can then go ahead and be able to put together, in terms of those who have lost their businesses and all that, jobs and all that, we will be able to put all those, put some figures to them, because we are still collecting information. So so for immediate medication, at least some, let's say, mosquito nets, maybe some tents we may have to, because some of them are getting into some. We thank some of the churches that they are releasing their auditoriums for people to go into, and so as they prepare their beds and all that, we need to get mosquitoes for them, mosquito nets for them, so that at least they can have a good night's sleep. So all these things that are needed, we need, and then some. I hear there's something that is called tap, a special kind of alarm or something that cleans the water. Because why I'm saying this is that we might not be able to get pure water sent to all of them. So if they have to depend on the river water, there must be an emergency treatment. So I understand there's a tap which needs to be bought, the tablet, so that it helps them to, at least do their own because we don't want for cholera also on our hands after this exercise. So this whole thing is complex, and now the health management team are meeting, and then we'll be able to get some further information and be able to get the radio stations to broadcast them.
Wow. For you personally, has your home also been submerged?
Yeah, some family homes. But personally, I'm far away from the river, so I'm okay. So that's why I was able to give accommodation to especially the Comboni nurses and staff. So at least I've asked them to move to my place at Dabala. And so some of them are there with their some documents and equipment and all that. So things that they can easily find it all sent there. So they're okay.
You mentioned that one of the major health facilities has been
Comboni Hospital.
Yes, that has been closed down because it has been affected.
Yeah, even the school, because it's a whole enclave. Comboni has several. The school, the hospital. The hospital has also the mortuary attached to it, and then the printing press and all of those facilities. All can't access any of those services anymore, and the school is closed also as well. The students have been asked to go home.
Okay, but for the hospital, now that it's been closed down, where are they going to access? Where will people in the community access health care?
I think we are doing some OPD kind of cases, but they referred all the admitted cases to other facilities, and then asking people not to even come. Those with first-time attendees should just go to the district hospital or other facilities. So those we are saying. So we are just managing.
I see. Okay, so we've talked about health. We've talked. You have mentioned that schools have been affected as well. What about access? How are people able to move around, or everybody's now, in shelters, not moving at all?
Not at all. Not exactly. I mean, in terms of mobility, especially on the river, we've been able to. Our bags 5 canoes be constructed, and so we've done that. We've given out 2, and then we are just giving out more to enable people navigate and be able to salvage few things from their homes and all that. The dry areas, of course, you can walk around. I mean, you can walk around and drive around. Yeah, so in terms of the flooded areas, it is all by canoes, and that is what we are doing. And then, we've also requested for some dinghies from the military. The Navy is also around, and so we believe they are also coming to augment what we are doing in terms of movement on the river, movement on the water, so that people can just go and then take people from where they are stranded to dry areas, dry land and all that. So those movements are ongoing.
Okay. Now, for those whose homes have been submerged, yes, you have mentioned that place have been provided for them to, get some shelter and keep body and soul together. But of the homes that have been submerged, is it your estimation, at least per what the guys have told you, that many of these homes cannot be inhabited again, considering the level of devastation?
In fact, that the full assessment will be after the water has gone. Maybe you see that when this exercise is over, just don't know when that is to be over anyway, because you should be here to see the kind of buildings that are submerged. These are very expensive, but I don't know. You see, and I don't want to falter them or blame them why they built where they built, because these are old creeks, old tributaries of the river before the dam was constructed. And after the dam was constructed, all these things became dry. And for over 30 years, we've not recorded any flooding at all. And so, more or less, people think that is how it is. So they've gone ahead and built. And so people have been living there for about 20 years without any flood incident. And so that is why, and apart from maybe the street houses, the mud houses that you can say, okay, look, you don't have to come back. If you look at those built with mortar and brick and cement and all that, the kind of architectural design that some of them are, you wouldn't want to think of probably abandoning it. But except, of course, if what we are experiencing now is something we are likely to experience again, maybe in the shortest possible time and all that, then we may have to resettle people. We may have to resettle people. So that I mean, so it's, that might be the but it's so expensive to put up such an edifice and then walk away like that. So that is how I feel.
I see. All right. So for those in the corporate space, those who are benevolent and philanthropic, what do you say directly to them this morning, even as you are, putting out the SOS?
Those who can come to assist us and the corporate entities. In fact, this is very devastating. We have never seen such a magnitude of what we're seeing in terms of flooding. And I know, even though it's a bit late in terms of the response from the sector government, I understand they're coming with some items. We will want to employ all or encourage all to freely come over and support Central Tongue, North Tongue, South Tongue, the community, the people. In fact, their livelihood taken away from them. And of course, sustenance is a whole problem. And so we just want to call on everybody who as you're touched to come.
Honourable?
Through the members of parliament and DCs, I think it will get to the appropriate people who need them.
All right. I want to say a big thank you to you, sir, for picking our call this morning. I know there's a lot you're doing in the constituency to help those who have been affected by this. I thank you for your time. We'll also do our best to put out the SOS for those who can come in and support, and then also coordinate to bring some support to you as well.
So we are ready for everybody. And then whatever donation everybody does will be announced and very much appreciated by the people.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
That's Komla Mensah Woyome, the Member of Parliament for South Tong, joining us this morning with an update as the people's representative on what's going on in terms of the impact of the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. We do know that the maximum level of water that the dam can hold is 276 feet. Now, as of last Thursday, the water level was 276.92. Now, before the spillage, the level was at 272.5. And the VRA had said that the level of water in the dam as of the 15th of October was 277, which means that it was very high and it started dropping. However, what we're also learning is that the more it rains up north, the more the dam continues to fill up, which will mean a lot of spillage happening down south as a result. We're trying to get as much of insight and information for you this morning on the impact of this spillage on lives and in communities. If you are either connected or in these communities, listen to us this morning. We'd love to hear from you. Send us a message on WhatsApp, 0552880216. You can send us videos, pictures, comments, whatever it is that you want to share with us, please do. 0552880216. Also, you can join our live stream on Facebook at star1035FM and drop your comments. Let's know what you make of what's going on with the dam spillage and its impact. We know the president this morning will be visiting the district severely hit by the floods occasioned by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. We know he will be joined by members of the interministerial committee set up by government to help address the havoc caused downstream by the dam spillage and to help bring relief to those who are affected. We're told the tour will enable the president and the committee to assess the destruction caused by the flood and also its effects on the people in the various communities. That committee, the interministerial committee, will be headed by the Chief of Staff, Akosombo Dam, to coordinate government's response to the spillage. Now, apart from assessing the impact, the president, we're told, is also expected to announce measures to bring relief to the flood victims in the North Tong, Central Tong, and South Tong districts in the Volta region. We have already heard from the Member of Parliament for South Tong, Komla Mensah Woyome. We're still going to engage as many as we can. But let's speak to our Volta Regional Correspondent, Faisal Abdul Iddrisu. Faisal, good morning to you.
Hi, Francis. Good morning.
I know that with all that's happening in these affected areas, it's tough to call it a good morning. However, what can you tell us about the level of impact of this spillage in the affected communities?
Francis, NADMO is not able to give us any correct figure in terms of the people affected, but unconfirmed figures from the MPs and key stakeholders on the ground are telling us that in the 3 Tong districts, about 15,000 people have been affected. Mefe in the North Tong district seems to be the most hit community, where in Mefe currently the flood is not at ground level. Flood in Mefe in particular is at roof level. And so even within the Mefe township, we had to be using canoe across the various centers. Currently, some of these affected persons, especially in Mefe, are being kept at the St. Kizito SHS and their basic school. And to get to them, we have to ferry across the flood. And that is what I'm telling you, that for a story building, the very down floor has gone down into the flood. And so the level of devastation and destruction is unimaginable. We can't quantify it in terms of figures in monetary terms. because fish farms have been taken away, and exposing the people to health and public health issues, sanitation issues at large. And so, my brother, it's not something I'm able, since we started this conversation about it, I'm not able to really paint a picture of what is on ground with my mouth. It's unimaginable.
Faisal, we're told, and at least per what we've been made to understand, the impact of this is far-reaching. Where are people getting potable water to consume now in these communities?
It's their potable water. The VRA in Mefe particular brought in some water. The NDC MPs brought some 2,000 bags of sachet water and bottled water, but that is not enough. When we got to Mefe on Friday in particular, we needed water ourselves to drink at the center where the people are being kept. And it was very difficult for us to get just, a sachet water to drink. And so indeed the issue of water, the issue of food is not really good. It's difficult to find. It is also true that some people are still depending on the same water lake we are talking about. But the lake is currently contaminated with all kinds of things. The public toilets, the latrines, open pit latrines, refuse dams along the banks of the river have all been swept away by the river. And Sogakova, for instance, when we came on Saturday, we still saw people fetching from the river. They are sending that water to their home for use. And so the issue of water sanitation, wash in general, water sanitation, hygiene, I'm afraid we may be in for something worse. And that's exactly what the Ghana Health Service is saying. They embarked on a rapid assessment on Saturday. They visited all the three town districts, met with the district health directorate, NADMO, and the key stakeholders. And their fear is that if nothing drastic is done, there could be an epidemic outbreak in the coming days, given the situation as far as sanitation issues are concerned. And so for water, it's a difficult situation.
Wow. What about feeding as well? Supplies, feeding.
Cooked food is being brought to the centers. NADMO brought in some bags of rice on Friday. We are told they are bringing more. Those around the communities who still have something left in their homes, they are helping their patrons at the centers. When they cook, they send some there. The community show of care and love. But the real source of food now is coming from the VRA and the various assemblies which are supporting with some cooked food. For the uncooked one is the bag of rice and oil that VRA is bringing through NADMO.
I see. We spoke to the South Tong MP, Komla Mensah-Woyome, talking about health facilities and some of them that have had to be closed down.
Yeah.
So where are the residents now accessing healthcare?
Access to healthcare is a problem. In South Tong, the Komboni Hospital has been closed down. On Friday, we were told that people who were in critical care were even to be discharged to probably look for a different sort of facility where they could go and have service. The Komboni mortuary has been closed. On Friday, they were urging relatives to come for their bodies from the morgue, probably transfer them somewhere or go and find a way of burying them. In North Tong, some chief compounds have also been affected. And so when you come to the Mefe, St. Kizito SHS, where the people are being kept, there's a mobile clinic there. And the Ghana Health Service is attending to minor ailments, using the opportunity to educate them more. And then when they find critical cases, they refer that to the Bato Catholic Hospital, which is still in good state. So for the communities that have been affected with their chief compounds, their only last resort now is the Bato Catholic Hospital or the Sugakope Government Hospital. For the Catholic Hospital Komboni, it's not in good state now for use. Even yesterday, when we were crossing over to Komboni again, the water level has risen. On Friday, when President Mahama came, we used that stretch, and it was fairly good to use. On Saturday, when we tried the same stretch, the hospital, it was quite difficult because the water level has risen again, and so nobody can really access the facility there. The chief compounds in North Town cannot be accessed except for the Bato Kali Hospital.
I see. Okay. For those who have been displaced, where are they being housed, and what's the condition of where they are being held?
So NADMO, in collaboration with the key partners, have designated what they call safe havens. The safe haven one is the St. Kizito SHS that I'm talking about in Mefe, where they are housing them in school buildings. In the school buildings, they get them some mattresses, student mattresses to use. You know, the victims themselves lost their mattresses even to the flood. Some were able to pick theirs and have since been drying the mattresses. They are not dried yet. And so they are relying on what NADMO is bringing from the VRA. And it is one more reason why the need for mosquito nets is on the increase. You get to the center and the Ghana Health Service is telling you that they have brought in a number of mosquito nets, but that is not enough. And so they also fear that malaria could be on the increase because already in North Town, for instance, malaria is a leading cause of death, mobility in the area. And so there is a fear also that malaria could increase in the days, especially for pregnant women who have become so vulnerable and young people who are also at the center. So there are safe havens that have been designated by NADMO, and one of which I just mentioned. When you come to Sogakofe, there's a space where they are housing the few that are still around. Some, during the start of the incident, had left the area, like they've gone to families close by where they could just find some comfort. In the central town district, some are being housed at the Agric. There's a place they call the Agric something. I am not able to recollect the name clearly enough now, but I visited that center too on Friday evening where they are being kept. They send them water and food there. When I got there, for instance, the central town designated haven on Friday, the victims there were still complaining about the fact that some of them were able to salvage some of their items from their homes. But those things are still left closer to the river because they are not able to convey them to the center. So they were begging the MP to get them a van which will go to the river bank and convey the few items they are able to salvage from the flood. And so this is the situation in terms of accommodation and where the people are being housed currently.
For those who are in these safe havens, you've talked about cooked food being brought to them. But in your estimation and by what you've seen, what are the pressing needs of the people today?
Pressing need one is mosquito nets. They need mosquito nets. Two, sanitary material. There are young people at the centers who are complaining that they need sanitary pads. Three, mobile toilets. At the Mefe Safe Haven, there is only one toilet for the school. And the numbers there now are so huge that they are not able to depend on that alone. And so there is also an increase in open defecation around the center. Almost everywhere you step, you are probably going to meet a fecal matter on the ground. So these are key issues. Beyond that is the psychosocial issue. People are depressed, and the Ghana Health Service are taking notice of that already. And they are promising to bring in some experts who will come in to engage them, counsel them on how to bring them to quote-unquote their normal senses. Apart from that is the issue of food and water. Even though that is being brought at the moment, it's just not adequate. And so there is a call for a more multi-dimensional support from all kinds of people. You see groups, the NDC, for instance, launching fundraising activities across the region, urging people to bring foodstuffs, bring clothing, and all of that so that they can donate to the people. If there is any other thing the people at the center need, that will be compensation. But that is a conversation that we cannot even start now because as it stands, the issues largely border on humanitarian issues, the bread and butter issues, their daily survival is key now than even the compensation issue, which they are already calling for though.
Okay. All right. Faisal, I want to say a big thank you to you for your time and for joining us. We're told today the president and his team, the interministerial committee, will be coming around to assess the impact and also roll out the activities being put in place to avert the impact of the spillage. We're told at 9 a.m. this morning. We'll see how that pans out. And of course, you being on the beat for us, we'll be getting some more updates for our listeners and also for those watching us on our streams here on Star FM on Facebook and also on YouTube. So thank you, Faisal, for that update this morning. We would certainly come back to you.
Sure, Francis. Thank you very much.
That's Faisal Abdul Iddrisu. He is our Volta Regional Correspondent joining us this morning with an update on the situation as we know it in the three districts that have been largely affected by the spillage. North Tongue, South Tongue, Central Tongue have all been affected by the Akosombo Dam spillage. They are all on the course, on the banks of the Volta Lake. That's what we know, and that's what we can bring to you this morning. You may have heard him mention the things that are needed now: mosquito nets, food supplies, mobile toilets, and also water supply, drinking water, and even safe potable water is of dire need in these areas as we speak. I had to go out to those who have been affected by this. Thankfully, we're yet to hear of any loss of life, but many have been displaced. About 15,000 persons have been displaced as a result of this dam spillage and its impact. Your views and comments are welcome. WhatsApp line is 055 2880 216. Alternatively, you can tweet at us at star1035FM. The hashtag is Morning Star. Well, that should do for our first share this morning, but that's not the end of our tracking of this matter. As I said, in all our news bulletins, we'll be keeping close eye on what's happening in the affected communities in the Volta region, also in the eastern region, as a result of the dam spillage. We'll keep our eyes clearly out there, and if there's any updates, you can be sure that we'll bring them to you here on your Simply the Best station. Let me share with you some good news now, and then we have our random conversation to bring you. Of course, I know many of you want to say a thing or two about what's happening in the Volta region. You will be allowed to do that. Plus, answering the question as to why, when you're traveling, you don't want anybody to know about it. Why is it such a big deal? Why? It's such a big deal.